4:44 p.m., 3/27/2025. Just switched to 4:45. How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are having an extra civilian disclosured Thursday today. I am currently um talking to Maka on Doop Doop. Yeah, Michaela Gonzalez and Monday Wrinkler. Yeah, and a couple of their like Loxon haired sisterin in their goth cult. And they're trying to decide if it's okay for boys to masturbate, but also like why they constantly need validation that boys are trustworthy once they masturbate. And if they make decisions while they're chasing a fantasy after they masturbate, that they cannot be trusted as men. Okay, this is what these are the general wash of opinions that the women that are on PARACONOMY Inc. here at the Oracle Apothecary are also co-opting in on trans exclusionary radical feminism or TERFs. They come in all shapes and sizes, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, you name it. All sorts of women are into this thing of being able to blame the scapegoat based off of the line of logic. Somebody is attempting to manipulate them and distract them to give them an enemy to fight so that the men in power can continue to like go the route, because there's a lot in their head, there's a lot of men who are becoming women. Back to this conversation of steroids, there's a lot less steroids going on in the UFC right now, in gym memberships, in like sports and general wash. There's still, but because there's the HRT over here on trans women, it does come up, and it also comes out as a um like flat back to HRT, hormone replacement therapy. And so now the women are also looking at me and saying, "Wow, you've co-opted women's magic, and you still possess the amount of like valor and righteousness the right type of guy should seek out, but you're using it all wrong." One of the girls is kind of backpedaling and being like, "No, I think he's right." But then another girl over here on these guys is like continuing to be like, "Yeah, but he's trans. He can't be right. He's trans. He's making sex dirty. He's making sex with women dirtier. And you know how they are. They can't control themselves. So that's why we keep them alone and homeless and keep feeding him things that aren't good for him and calling him a puppy because I like him as a submissive subordinate. Yes. And Michaela Gonzalez and Monday Wrinkler and Mars Draminsky and Naja Kopruvlavarov. We don't know her last name as well. Yeah, we're giving her Naja Nixie. Yep, and a whole bunch of other girls here, including Jessica Miller, one of the trans girls, is now under this assumption that women have this like right to be less educated and more sexualized. And it comes with the cost of like putting me a like actual I went to art school to like film, model, and like direct and like entertain and stuff like that, right? Figure things out here, produce. And like I kind of get the industry, but this is where they see that as male privilege, walking into the hen house and then telling them what to do, even though I haven't talked to any of these women. I don't ask them to do anything. I've never been around these women longer than a few days, mostly. And so like that's one big reason why it doesn't ever really come up, because they're hiding so much. And because I have like a good standing in reality. Some of these women take a lot of substances while they also have sex with men recreationally. So they're not even having sex for breeding, they're having sex for release and for like a thrill most of the time. So if more they're under the assumption if we get more women to have sex for thrills and less for practicality, we are innocent because we've created a new platform or medium for us to express ourselves as um like sexually numbed women or something. But they're maybe just not on the top of everybody's list for sex, especially because they don't elude that. They don't exude sex as something that they're passionate about in the ways that they're telling people. They're showing them they kind of are, but they're telling them other things. And it's just misleading. Whatever the case is, these women are very, very sexually stunted or confused. They're not as liberated as some of my friends out in Chicago at art college. Here at Michigan State University, MSU, the women are a little more sexually repressed in this sense because they're attempting to get with the state's top jocks and hetero men. So it's an enigma as to why they don't have me in the mix trying to get more guys because I'm like friends with a lot of these stoic guys. And instead, they're being like, "Nah, they're throwing me out." And I've got, like, a plenty of guys that, like, I could hit up, "Come visit me," and bring them out. I get them girls, and girls get the hot guys that I have access to as both male models, contributors, weightlifters, UFC fighters, gym trainers. I have a lot of guy friends, but it's not in their general lexicon to have a free thinking type of logic on this part of like the train system for how guys get from point A to point B using each other in a platonic way in order to create less stagnancy and more mobility in both emotional composure, right? We want to feel satisfied emotionally and not just a physical release that is supposed to bait more men into wrong decision choices. Whereas if they've never had men explain this to them aloud, so well worded and thought out that they've never actually been exposed to what parts men have had and shown women but don't continue on to the line of thought that helps cloud their brain when things are already cloudy. Right. They have their own, like, women vapors, the vapors, or, like, they have, like, periods that create this, like, rush and, like, lowering of blood pressure, but then high raising of, like, blood pressure once it's released. So, while it's releasing, this can cause trauma to the prefrontal and some of the right left hemisphere functions that allow men and women to communicate openly and emotionally and spiritually and physically and openly and just like well-rounded conversations about these passages that allow more exchange, not only just for emotional or theological, but also like a social and a physical thing where you start to create a community of people. This is where monogamy has really fallen off in my world of liberal arts and music and theater and all these other things that are slowly because they've always been popular, but they're slowly still creeping their way into our general world of how you're able to, like what I'm doing now. I'm making content by sharing this immersive experience with I know that there's somebody out there on the other side of this video, but at some point that'll want to know how I got from A to B. And that'll be this will is to help people continue on their train of thought that overlaps onto mine in order to give life to something that has less life. So as these people continue to kind of work through their things like narcissistic abuse, financial abuse, emotional, even physical alienation, because I'm all alone. These people have made me sex starved, touch starved, and like just they've crossed me off of the social ladder because um, I do have a little bit of a freaking checkered past when it comes to like decision making. And the people who actually have put that into spun are people that I trusted not to use this information against me in politically incorrect ways. Now, this has happened and this is why I currently own $20,000 down at bail, and why nobody's gonna actually help me clear my record until I rally up onto the bill of what it is that I have to actually live through and talk about and tell the truth to the rest of the world who was misplaced, misled to believe this part that was allowed to be framed against me without a lawyer, without anything that really adds into nothing that actually has substance. So all of these things end up leading into this case working where the rest of the world's allowed to say that's a case and it's never wrong. And these people want to believe that the court system is incapable of being wrong when they're also never in the room to witness any of the problems going down. So, this is the one leaky part all of these women have a hard time actually sealing, especially when there's so much truth being spilled out against witchcraft and the general atmosphere that we have for the women that are currently spearheading any anti masculine attempt to or any masculine attempt to like help blur the boundaries so more people can flow and there's less resistance um because the women here are creating resistance um because they've had terrible experiences with men and some of them come off like I do, and this is why they're starting to try to relay the stereotype for men onto a trans femme masculine over here. I'm not a binary, but I never stopped. I got to graduate to be a man. I became 25. The guys gave me the guy card and they're like, "Look, you may have messed this relationship up, but you ended up being a man. Okay, you're totally a man, and actually, now that we're seeing it, you're a solid man." So once I got that decal in, I decided, okay, I got the approval from my some of my parents' part, and my some of my most of my friends and my family that were came in, even though I'm 5'7" and I have long hair. They gave me the pass and were like, "Look, you're still a man." But then I went and I got creative because I just graduated art school and I wanted to show off. I wanted to show the world that I am the creative one in the family. So that's why it gets weird because my sister's actually living out in the place where you get the most clout for being creative out in Burbank, California. Whereas my mom sits on it favorably because I'm not able to write or articulate myself at the same capability. And so I decided that if I wanted to be taken seriously like my sister, that I had to become my sister. So now I'm trying to impress my mom and my dad while I'm also creating this obscurity, this abstract sort of like replacement of their son with of Alex to their daughter of Zoe. And now I'm like co-opting women's magic and spirituality through my passed on grandmother and now my former partner Kate. And I'm sort of able to use the telepathy from the spirituality and the experiences we shared against some of the trans exclusionary radical feminism that's attempting to satisfy a complete like zero out of quote unquote undesirable trans women and then create a coup against other women who or men who might mistakenly join it for the same vanity and like shallow nature that doesn't come with the trendy parts of witchcraft. But what they're not really taking into account is how much work a liberal hippie has done to make sure that this is dubstep and people want it as like a staple in culture or something that is hippie that cool hippies use because they only keep it to themselves. But now you can have it. You're black or a woman or just some person. I'm gonna sell you rocks because this is why you go to the music festival. It's not for the music. Of course not. So they have this other smoke screen to help create this murkiness so nothing's quite as clear as it needs to be in the tarot community and everything's mystified. So I'm here at Paraconomy Inc., here to help demystify anything that's currently happened in the state of the world. It's currently 5:01 p.m., 3/27, 2025. Drop a comment, leave a like, share, subscribe, share this with somebody who is currently going with this. I'd love to hear where this cliffhanger takes you guys. I'll be back in a little while to just like check in and see how everything's going. A bunch of like girls, Emily Rossler, Sam Brim, like Sam Hubbard, Amanda Stump, Krista Goff, like a bunch of my old, like Lauren Koblig, the Bishop twins, like all of these girls started coming up into the witchcraft seancing of some of this stuff. So out here in Michigan, before they got to that, I got to these bad boys, these magic mushrooms, and that you can buy at my website, paraconomy.earth. And they, they don't do that. All they do is this. And this is just like burning leaves and calling it a day. So, you guys tell me what you guys think about this neo feminism, kitschy sort of novelty, right? Let me know. Drop that comment, hit that like, smash the share, subscribe.